suggest one other thing that I think you'll find really helpful in your pursuit of more of a sense of flow, as I was describing in the previous video, in your life. And that's to begin to notice that we're not experiencing what we're doing. We're experiencing what we're thinking. We're not experiencing where we are. We're experiencing where our thinking is at. So one of the reasons that it often seems for a lot of people that work is taking over from life and that there is an imbalance, or sometimes life is taking away from work and there is an imbalance, is because we spend so much time thinking about work even when we're not at work. Or we spend so much time thinking about what's going on in our life even when we are at work. And there's a very simple rebalancing that happens when you do what in the Zen tradition they talk about as chop wood, carry water. And the saying is, before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. The difference is, before enlightenment, while you're chopping wood, you're probably thinking about how hard it is to chop wood and all the other things you would be able to be doing if you weren't chopping wood, and why are you the one stuck chopping the wood? Somebody else should chop the wood for you. And when you get really successful, you're going to have wood choppers just all the time. And water carrying, who does that? That's from another time and place. And you exhaust yourself in thought even while you're doing the very simple tasks that are allotted. After enlightenment, you do the same tasks, but you simply chop wood when it's time to chop wood, carry water when it's time to carry water. Or a much simpler example for most of us is that how much time do you spend at the movies thinking about what you were doing, what you should be doing, and at work thinking about what happened the day before or what's going to happen in the evening or what's going to happen the next day. So the simplest way to begin to increase that sense of flow, that sense of presence, that sense of right place, right time, is simply to have your mind and body in the same place at the same time. In other words, to simply start to become aware of how often you get lost in thought and how simple it is to come back to presence. I sometimes do an exercise on my trainings where I ask people to share a story of a time where they were so lost in thought that it had some very real world consequences. And the stories tend to be very amusing. And the one that I usually wind up telling, and I actually wrote about in one of my books, wasn't very amusing to me at the time. And it was back in my days as an actor. And I went on an audition for a play where my character was supposed to propose to a young woman that he was in love with. And being a very method actor, I took my actual wedding ring off and handed it to her during the proposal. And it was all lovely until I was halfway back to the train station from the audition and realized I'd left my wedding ring. And I ran back, and there was another actor in there auditioning, and it killed me because I know how poor the etiquette is of interrupting the audition, but I also thought I would be taking my life into my own hands going home without my wedding ring. So I interrupted the audition. I was incredibly apologetic. They were incredibly kind. They were incredibly helpful. Even the actor whose audition I interrupted was incredibly helpful, until about 5 minutes of looking into the whole endeavor. The director looked at my hand and said, "What's that on your finger?" And I had been so caught up in my thinking about the audition and how it went and what it would mean that I'd literally not seen my own ring on my own finger. Now, the only happy ending bit of that story is the guy whose audition I interrupted did get the part, so at least there was a little bit of justice in the universe. But the truth is, the moment we catch wise to how much of our time is spent off in our thinking, up in our heads, we automatically return to presence. We automatically return to the present moment. It's not an activity. It's not something you have to do. It's not a place you have to must stay present, must stay present, must stay present. Like Morihei Ueshiba, you don't need to always be present. You just need to know what it feels like to be where you are, to be present, and know that you will continually be returning to presence. Because some of the ideas in this little program may seem a little abstract, I really encourage you to just sit with them and just notice in the week ahead, how much of your time are you spending up in your head, lost in thought? How much of your time are you spending thinking about work when you're not at work, or thinking about things that have nothing to do with work while you are at work? And as best you can, notice how often and how simple it is to return to the present moment. And then when you've got some experience around that, I really encourage you to come back and watch through or listen to the whole program again. And chances are you'll find another level of simplicity and another level of ease around this whole area. Have fun, learn heaps, and thanks for listening.